Looking for a new ride but short on cash? Come on down to AJ Doman Chevrolet for the Bravo Day sale event going on now. Save on all used cars and trucks. We've got $500 down payment assistance and financing as low as 1.9 for 36 months on over 35 different models. No credit, bad credit, upside down, we can help. We say yes when others say no. AJ Doman Chevrolet at the foot of the Morgan City Bridge in Berwick.
Tonight was a book launch for the Frenchie book and an opportunity to honor some of the Frenchie World War II veterans from South Louisiana, like Mr. Norris Morvant, one of the last surviving Frenchie Cajuns of World War II. The book is a collection of stories, letters, interviews, memorabilia, and diary entries of French-speaking Cajuns from World War II who had the opportunity to use their French language skills in some capacity, whether it would be for communicating with the French locals or with the French underground, or simply just being the Frenchie guy in their platoon who was able to communicate with the locals to find things that were necessary in places like North Africa and France and New Caledonia. So anywhere the French language was needed, Frenchie was called on. There were thousands of these French-speaking Cajuns, and they were able to successfully bridge that language gap between the locals and the French army and French resistance forces, particularly in France and Normandy and even in Belgium. And these were the guys who could communicate to the local people. So that language connection, that communication skill was critical to Allied operations all throughout Europe. Mr. Norris Morvant from Thibodeau is one of the stars of the Frenchie Project. So fortunate to have met him a couple of years ago. We've been good friends, and we've been able to share the stage on a couple of different events like this one here in Houma tonight. And he was one of those Frenchies. He worked as a courier, as a liaisons man in General Eisenhower's headquarters from the time they arrived in Normandy all the way through France. So for an entire year, he was assigned to a Jeep with his French language skills and a set of orders to go deliver amongst the countryside, and so that's where his French really came in handy.
I went into service in February 1943. I went through all the stuff that you usually do in evaluation and so forth, and I ended up in England, where I was stationed with General Eisenhower's headquarters. And at that time, I didn't know how important I was because I wasn't told what was going to happen about my duties. Come to find out, I ended up being a Frenchie because I speak French, and to be able to communicate with the French people and translate. In 2022, I received the Legion of Honor medal from France, and I have it with me now. It means a whole lot because it's the equivalent of a Congressional Medal of Honor.
I wrote a master's thesis to get a master's degree in history at the University of Houston, went on to get a doctorate degree in American history field, and got involved in doing other things. And kind of put this Frenchie story kind of on the back burner. And in 2019, I got invited to go to the Congrès Mondial Acadien. Brenda Como-Trahan, she was the director of the Acadian Memorial in St. Martinville forever. And she said, Jason, I want you to come up and tell the story of the Frenchies. So I had to study back up on this Frenchie project, right? Go dig up all these interviews. I'd done, 150, 200 interviews. Many of them were done using a little handheld tape recorder with the little micro cassettes. You know what I'm talking about? We've got hundreds of those things. And then I graduated up to cassette tapes, okay? And I even did telephone interviews, believe it or not, for a long time. So I go over there, I tell the story, gave 2 or 3 presentations there, and there was a fellow from Codeville. Y'all know what Codeville is, right? Council for the Development of French Louisiana. And he said, Jason, this is an awesome story. I don't know anything about it. I said, how could you not know anything about the Cajun interpreters in World War II? He said, it's just not a story that most people know around here. I said, well, we're going to do something about that. So, long story short, I started a podcast show called The Frenchies. It's been around for a couple of years. So all of those interviews that I've done have all been digitized at the Center for Louisiana Studies. So I can go in and pick little pieces out. So if y'all have heard the Frenchie podcast, if y'all go listen to it, you'll hear it because it is stories of Frenchie World War II veterans as told by the veterans themselves. So I called up a buddy of mine who worked in the newspaper at the Advocate, George Morris. I said, George, will you run a story? Tell the public I'm looking for anything, memorabilia, letters, diaries, VHS cassette tapes, and names of any World War II veterans who spoke French who are still around. By Christmas time, I had 200 responses. Once I gathered up all that information, then within that batch of emails and phone calls, there were 10 World War II veterans who had been identified to me as using their French in some capacity. So we're so glad and proud and honored to have Mr. Norris Morvant and his family here, Miss Rose and his son, Mr. Larry. Please put your hand together for Mr. Norris Morvant, one of the last Frenchies.
I was fortunate to serve in General Eisenhower's headquarters. When I went over there, it was in sort of late July, and General Eisenhower wanted to set up the headquarters in Granville, which is on the west side of France. All these generals in newspapers and books and all, but I saw alive General Patton, General Montgomery, General de Gaulle, and Winston Churchill, a lot of people. I saw them alive. And today, at 100 years old past, I feel good. I feel honored that I could come here and speak with y'all. I've done this a lot in front of French people in New York and other places too. So it's kind of like at home, doing it all over again.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.